Shadi is an absolute pushover of a duelist. If you lose to him, you suck at this game, and you should end your career right here, right now. Shadi is an absolute pushover of a duelist. If you lose to him, you suck at this game. Shadi is a horrendous duelist. Absolute pushover of a duelist. If you lose to him, you suck at this game. You suck at this game. You suck at this game. End your career right here, right now. You suck at your career. Absolute. You suck at this game. You suck at this game. You suck at this game. Jono, you absolute zon. Why did you have to go and open your mouth in that last video? We're in the month of April, but I'm not quite ready to be the fool yet. So, let's just see how bad of a duelist Shadi really is. Shadi is one of the worst duelists in Forbidden Memories given the location in which you challenge him. His deck pool is comprised of 118 cards, with the top percentile being monsters all under 1000 attack. But Jono, you sexy hunk of man-mate, what the heck does that even mean? Well, other Jono, opponents in this game construct their decks using a random assortment of 40 cards from their respective character pools. Each card in that pool has differing odds of being chosen as one of the 40 cards that makes up the deck. Opponents like the lower mages, for example, all have higher odds of having field spells in their deck. This is why they almost always change their field when we first challenge them in free duel. Now, knowing all that information, let's get back to understanding why Shadi is so crap of a duelist. His deck pool has some decent enough cards given his location in the story. What lets him down, however, are the card odds. Every single monster over 1000 attack has a 0.05% chance of being included in his deck. With the opposite for his weaker monsters. Effectively with those stats, his actual deck in the story will always be as strong as Teana or Simon. For this run, we're making Shadi the protagonist of this story. This means he'll be granted the intelligence to pick the cards for his own deck. Enjoy it while it lasts, buddy. Moving along, these are the rules for the run. It goes without saying that we need to use Shadi's deck, all his cards are available, and we can use 3 copies of each, just like he'd be able to. Lastly, all opponents must be dueled, and good luck scrub. Our deck looks like this. I'm not entirely sure whether we'll be able to beat the final 6, but I at least have some confidence that we'd be able to make it up to him. Now with all that said, let's just see how much of a pushover Shadi is. Kicking things off, we have the blue bandit known as Simon. GG easy is all I gotta say, so long as we summon a monster over 500 attack. 100% we are going to win this, unless he pulls out a magic Exodia on us. Which according to the masses in the comments, has actually happened for some of you. Don't know what RNG said you popped to get that luck, but that was both sad and equally hilarious to read. Getting back to the Shadi analysis, never thought I'd say that again. What made me choose the current cards for our deck list? I did a metric buttload of research and came up with a few steps in my head to figure out what I was going to go with. I'll go over each and every step to my slow descent into madness as we go through the next duels in the starting half of the game. But Jono, how bad could it be? Well, don't let these early duels deceive you. You'll find out soon enough what the hell I went through to get this and why it took me so long. But for now, Simon goes down and we get a Tomosaurus. Wrapping up the pleasantries, we make our way down to the duel arena and say hi to Teana and the gang. Now for those astute individuals that have been scanning my videos top to bottom looking for any hints or references, I realised after I posted it that I may have leaked a spoiler for this run. It was dropped in one of my earlier videos, you're just going to have to go through, watch all of them and find out. Make sure you sit through all the ads in the process. Anywho, Teana, like Simon, goes down if you drop a monster over 500 attack. So with that said, let's get back to my deck construction methodology, gology, whatever you want to call it, ology. Step 1 for compiling the deck was to consider the strongest possible monster I can achieve with this deck. That is considering fusions, equip card availability, and field spell compatibility. As for the low hanging fruit, I was looking for the strongest standalone cards. 7 Coloured Fish and Giant Red Snake both boast an 1800 attack stat, which is absolutely fantastic for the early game, and should carry me to, I'm going to say, the preliminary tournament finals. So it's a no-brainer, they made it into the deck. We win, by the way. Teana goes down, she gives us her strongest card, which is the Skull Servant, and we move across to Giselle, aka Villager 1. And boy oh boy, does this guy step up the difficulty. The strongest card we have to contend with now increases for 500 attack points, all the way up until a colossal 600 attack points. Wow. With all that said, let's get over to step 2 of my deck composition formula. The next item I considered were the fusion engines that were available in this deck. Shadi's deck is primarily comprised of aqua monsters, which don't really fuse, so the bulk of those are throwaway unfortunately. The one essential redeeming quality of his deck, yes I said redeeming, is that he has access to 1 dragon and 1 thunder card, those being Yamatano Dragon Scroll and Lala Liloon. That means we can make Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, the strongest generic fusion available to us. I'll pause that for now because we're on to the last turn, and I'll pick up where I left off, because you can see that I've been using a few other cards to pull out the Twin Head fusion, and I'll explain exactly how I've managed to pull that off. Giselle goes down and he drops us a Muyan curry. Hooray. Eating this dude's lunch, we go across the villager 2, aka Malai Ruka. Don't fall out of your chair this time people, his strongest card is Ryukishin at 1000 attack. All jokes aside, the villagers at this point in the game will start to get a bit smarter. Their AI will be geared towards fusing and popping out a few stronger monsters, at least over 1500 attack. So the strongest solo cards in their deck aren't really a proper representation of their power. Anywho, back to the deck analysis. As mentioned, given that we have a twin-headed engine, this meant that I had to stack the deck with everything possible to make Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. The other 2 cards worth noting are Spiked Seadra and Takraminos. Both these cards, despite being Sea Serpents, also have a secondary typing of Dragon. With Spiked Seadra being an absolute gun, it has the ability to become a Thunder monster when fused with a Spellcaster. But enough of that, Villager 2 goes down, drops us an Armored Zombie, and we make our way to Villager 3, who also looks like a zombie. This guy has no name, but for the sake of our series, we call him Old Greg. This guy jumps up significantly. The strongest card in his deck is Jirai Guma at 2200 attack. The next best is Dragon Zombie at 1600. Every other card in his deck is made to fuse into a Pumpkin the King of Ghosts or any of the other lower dragon fusions. Getting back to our own deck engines, as for the rest of Shadi's deck pool, he has other cards that could be considered engines, but they're rather scarce. He has the ability to make Thousand Dragon, Pumpkin King of Ghost, Mystical Sand, Flame Cerberus, and I guess Crimson Sunbird if you count that as an engine having 1 winged beast in his deck. One thing worth noting is that his deck does have the ability to jump up to Sea King Dragon because of the total monsters. I haven't included it as an engine because we're already including Spike Seadra and Takraminos in the engine for Twin Head. With my timing on point, he drops us a Frenzied Panda, Teana says hello to us once more, and takes us out to a Mage Festival. Getting back to whatever this game would call a storyline, our incarnation of Shadi is called Sadin. Sadin was not invited to the festival. Big sad right there. Instead, he's sitting there in some valley guarding some forbidden ruins to which he has no idea where they're located. Jeez, blind leading the blind. It just goes to show that Shadi was predisposed at being a disappointment. Shadi's poor genetics aside, we make our way back to the duel arena. The next opponent on our hit list is Jono 1. What's that? Jono 1? Yes, that is correct. I won. He went down harder than Taylor Swift in an AI generated Super Bowl game. I've seen the pictures and they're pretty mid. Anywho, as an opponent, Jono is about as strong as Villager 2. The only redeeming card in his deck is Baby Dragon, which he might use to fuse into a strong monster, if he's smart enough of course. So, let's get back to my deck composition analysis. The next thing after I considered all the powerhouse monsters was to consider what equip cards we had access to. Because let's face it, you've seen me in the final 6, and equip cards are the bread and butter of me actually winning this game. Let's just take a quick intermission to see what card Jono dropped us. It's an Abyss Flower, and we'll pick up where we left off in our duel against Seto 1. Displaying toxic attention-seeking behaviour, Seto struts into the room like that one guy at a university who rocks up with Louis Vuitton to an arts class. Not taking the bait, we jump right back into the duel and pick up where we left off on that explanation. Now, Shadi's equip cards. Fortunately, we have access to one. Her frickin' Ray. Unfortunately, the card is Steel Shell, which is only compatible with 16 monsters. That's right, 16 monsters, none of which are standalone cards in this deck. Fortunately, Sea King Dragon is one of the cards that is compatible with Steel Shell. Under the right conditions, he can be made stronger than Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Unfortunately, the consistency is freaking horrible. Just bringing out Sea King Dragon already requires 2 to 3 cards, and I'll need to top that off with 3 equip cards as well. Gosh, I do not envy me for the rest of this run. But, thankfully, we don't need to deal with that till we get to the later parts of the game. And speaking of, Seto goes down, and we exit the duel arena and continue on with our story. This begs a very important plot hole that's just come to mind. What the heck was Sadin doing while our parents were being murdered? Sadin resides as a tomb keeper and isn't meant to leave his post. So how the hell did he find out about this Paris event And how did he figure out that our parents and Fizdis, I guess, did not make it? Jafar, explain it to us. What's that? Silence? Exactly. Zero explanation for that one. Whilst Haishin stabs all our close friends and families, we see Seto kidnap Fizdis for some reason, so we decide to run outside. Displaying more toxic attention-seeking behaviour, Seto meets us at every turn. There is absolutely no reason for him to be here. Haishin is league stronger than Seto is right now, especially without his Millennium Rod. Which, speaking of, he's up in our face again, so what do? We challenge him to a duel. Now, I'm going to try and defeat him with the current deck that we have. This is Haishin 1, not Haishin 2. His deck should be beatable under the right conditions. I mean, let's face it, I beat it with a frickin' Pyro deck. But with an absence of equip cards, let's just see how well we fare. The key card we missed out on turn 1 was Umi. That's why I had to dump my hand in order to get it. With this on the field, if I'm able to pull out a twin-headed Thunder Dragon, I can actually hit over his Black Skull Dragon. Haishin as an opponent, however, isn't that dumb. He does know how to power up his monsters, and you will see him frequently using Sword of Duck Destruction and even Megamorph. But for the time being, I think we've managed to redeem ourselves and we're hitting back at this guy once more. Now, I don't know why I had a brain snap there. I could have easily brought out another twin-headed Thunder Dragon, but I was conscious of the face-down card he had in the back row. He does have Widespread Ruin in his deck, but he doesn't use it all that often. And why should he? If you're playing this game vanilla, he has absolutely no reason to use it. He'd be terrorizing you right now. If anything, you would have lost to him already. But, that aside, he has 1800 attack points left, and we have 3 twin heads on the field. Safe to say, we won this duel. Now, I won't waste your time in dueling him over and over again for the story. I'm just going to jump cut to the puzzle smash. What did he drop us? Curtain of the Dark Ones. Ashamed by his defeat, he gets grabbed by Simon, who asks us if we want to smash a puzzle. I would have personally taken the dagger from his waistcloth and stabbed him with it, but hey, I didn't write this game. Inside the staircase purgatory, we say goodbye to Simon and the rest of my voice apparently, recoup, grab a glass of water, and wake up in the present times. I'm actually eager to experience this point in the game. Given that we only have a sole twin-headed Thunder Dragon with no equip cards, the opponents won't necessarily be a cakewalk. I know that from my own personal vanilla runs of this game. The current goal I have in my head so far is to beat ourselves, and by ourselves I mean Shadi. But before we can do that, we need to take out Rex. And while we're at it, maybe finish off that breakdown of our deck. Dragged it off long enough as it is. From my notes here, we haven't gone over the spell cards, and honestly, they're not all that great, aside from Umi. Cursebreaker is only useful against reversing the effects of Shatter Spell, and Goblin Secret Remedy is an absolute joke of a card. Which brings us nicely over to Stop Defense. You've seen me use this card quite a few times in the early duels. I'm basically considering it the Raigeki of this deck for this point of the game. Aside from speeding up our early game duels, what benefits does this card have for us? Find out more in the next duel, because right now we have taken down Rex, and old mate drops us a Ryukushin. Accidentally hitting stop on the record button a bit too early, we jump cut across to Weevil. Don't know what happened there, just donked out in my brain. By the way, all the duelists we've defeated thus far were done so in one try. No repeats so far. So with that said, let's go over the Stop Defense card once more, given that it's sitting in my hand right now. Stop Defense is mainly our one only defense, no pun intended, against Labyrinth Walls and Millennium Shields. Though I can chase the field to Umi with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, there might be instances where I just simply won't have it on the field. Having this card gives us a chance to attack over our opponent, but also deal some pretty nasty direct damage in the process. For our early game decks, and even probably up until the final 6, I plan to keep this card in here. And that about wraps up our deck analysis. The key factor that makes this deck workable is actually dual typing. Spike Seadra and Takraminos are the bread and butter of this deck, and you're going to see them a lot. As for Time Wizard, he's just in there purely for Thousand Dragon. He will likely be dropped later. Speaking of people dropping, Weevil went down, and we're on to our next opponent, who is none other than Mai Valentine. This is where the tournament starts throwing us some slightly stronger opponents. Mai has Harpy's Pet Dragon in her deck, and also Dark Elf, and also Harpy Lady Sisters. Those are a decent step up from the other opponents we've faced. If we don't get a Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon on the field, most likely we're going to lose unless we play the Guardian Stars. However, never fear, we managed to pull off a Twin Head turn 1 because of our trusty Stone D. Rocks are definitely going to be an interesting type when I eventually get to them. They have potential, but that's all really going to be dependent on which opponents drop which cards for us. I guess that's the beauty of these challenges. You don't actually know how strong a deck would be until you attempt it. People in their heads are defaulting Dragon to be the strongest type, purely because it has the strongest cards in the game. You know what, safe assumption there. However, all the strongest Dragon cards are A power rank wins from strong opponents. You can't beat a strong opponent with an A rank unless you already have a strong deck. And that's where Dragon might actually be harder than people initially thought. Food for thought when we get to that later. But for now, let's continue on with the Shadi run. And we are on to Bandit Keith, who is our final opponent before we face ourselves. Ooh. Bandit Keith has some problematic cards in his deck. He has a Zoa and he has a Dark Elf. He doesn't use Zoa as much, thankfully, due to it having a 0.59% chance of being in his deck, but his Dark Elf on the other hand is something he likes to try and spam here and there. So, based on those odds, 1000 Dragon is more than enough for this. Bonus if we can get a Twin Head, but we're sitting comfortably so long as we have this card on the field. Now, I'm trying to think of some more trivia for you all. I don't think it makes sense to cover off any of the cards in the deck, because they'll get their justice as I go through the type runs. Instead, I think I might actually give some trivia into Shadi as a character in the YuGiOh universe. That might be interesting. According to the wiki, he has an alternate name called Hassan. Don't know where that came from, but nonetheless... Gosh, never thought I'd drop a reel in this video. Anywho, names aside, Shadi was the guardian of ancient Egyptian tombs and the modern day holder of the Millennium Key and the Millennium Scales. Which I guess we'll get to find out right now, because guess what people, it's time for a Shadi cutscene. Never thought I'd be excited to say that out loud. Yugi and Joey are bragging about being in the finals like it's some big achievement. Guys, humble yourselves, Shadi is in the friggin' finals. Speaking of, he pops up on screen looking as emotive as ever. Mesmerised by the figure in front of us, we decide to touch ourselves, being the only character capable of doing that in this game. With everyone around us being jealous, we decide to continue the plot. Yugi is talking to his past self about some crazy Egyptian shenanigans, but we don't care. The thing that's on our mind right now is defeating ourselves. By ourselves, I mean Shadi. And what a momentous occasion this will be. Skipping through more dialogue, we are not given the opportunity to save our game, because we need to fight Shadi right off the bat. This duel is going to be the hardest one ever. Opening turn 1, we don't really want to reveal our trump card too early, so instead we'll fuse into 1000 Dragon using a Time Wizard and attack Ramenos and pass the turn back over to Shadi. He responds with a face down. What evil lies before us? We summon down our Rainbow Fish and attack into his Toadmaster. Clearly he's taking it easy on us, so we attack him directly to prove that we're not kidding around. He responds with another set card. So we respond with our own 1800 attack monster. Attacking into his set Fire Reaper, we attack once more with 1000 Dragon and 7 coloured fish and pass the turn back to him. It's all on you, buddy. It all hinges on this turn. Charles Hamilton said that my rival is me and I cannot be defeated, and I plan to live by that in putting an end to Shadi once and for all. He goes down with an A rank, and we did this in one try. We enact the Highlander rule by absorbing him into ourselves and then proceeding to steal his stuff. From this point on, every duel we face is purely to see how far we can go with this Shadi deck. I have no idea if we can make it to the final 6, but nonetheless I'll give this a damn good try and lose as much sanity as I can throughout the process. Anywho, on to Bakura, and we draw a pretty freaking strong hand. I didn't show enough love to Spike C during our Sea Serpent video because it was purely monotype and I didn't really get a chance to show him off. This card is an absolute beast. If you fuse it with a spellcaster, it will turn into Kaminari Attack, a second stage thunder monster that will make twin-headed Thunder Dragon when you add a dragon to it. Alternatively, if you just mix a standard Thunder monster directly with Spike Seedra, you'll end up with a twin-headed Thunder Dragon, since its second type is a second stage Dragon monster. Of course, being part Dragon means it has access to every other Dragon type fusion. Stone D, 1000 Dragon, you name it, it gets all of them. But enough of that, let's continue on to the Shadi trivia. Recapping his Millennium items, I mentioned he had both the Millennium Key and the Millennium Scales. The key is used to enter people's soul rooms. Used in malicious ways, he can use it to manipulate individuals. Didn't work too well on Yami Yugi with his 1000 staircases and trap rooms. But enough of that for now. Bakura goes down, and we steal his Millennium Ring. Mine. Oh, before I jump into the next duel, he uses his Millennium Scales to measure people's sins and punishes them as he sees fit. Our next opponent is Maximilian Pegasus, which is rather fitting because there actually is lore between both these characters, so I'll cover that off in this duel. Pegasus went to Egypt to study reincarnation in order to bring back his dead wife Cecilia. He met Shadi, who told him to leave. Despite that, Pegasus followed him down into an underground cavern, to which he was promptly apprehended by Shadi's guards. It was here that Shadi explained to Pegasus that the only way to leave the crypt was to be chosen with a Millennium item. Picking up the Millennium Eye, he basically Bakuganed it directly into Pegasus's left eye and told him he would either choose him or punish him. Joke's on you, Shadi. Pegasus is always down for a pound. Thus, he successfully overcame the challenge and left with a fancy new eyeball. That experience must have left a lifelong mark on Pegasus because he actually has a painted picture of Shadi up in his mansion. I am not kidding. That about wraps up his interaction with Pegasus. Before I continue his lore, I just realised that all of us who watch the 4Kids anime are missing a pretty important detail about this character. Nothing major, other than the fact that he is a freaking ghost. Yes, you heard me, he's a ghost. I'll explain a bit more into that in the next duel. For now, we fire off the stop defense and attack Pegasus for game. Old mate goes down, and what does he drop us? Intensifies, and we get a sleeping lion. Noticing the sweet Bakugan hanging out on this guy's forehead, we decide to rip out his eye and keep it for ourselves. Let's save our game. The next duel is up against this game's version of Ishizu. We'll have to take a pause on that lore for now. Instead, let's continue that whole ghost thing about Shadi. All of which actually occurs during the time of the YuGiOh Dark Side of Dimensions movie. Shadi enters the home of an abusive man, who has collected many orphans before the time of Power World and has instructed them to steal for him. Among the orphans were Diva, Manny and Sarah. He approached the orphans, pushed on their foreheads and gave them that golden Millennium Eye. He then immobilized the man and killed him with a quantum cube. While chatting to the orphans, Bakura's father came in, wanted to buy the Millennium Ring. Shadi gave him the same worthiness test, to which he failed. Instead, he gave the ring to his son, young Bakura, to which upon wearing it, gave birth to Yami Bakura, who decided to wish everyone his happy birthday by promptly murdering Shadi. Yes, all jokes aside, Yami Bakura killed Shadi. To advance the plot of the movie, before dying, he gave Diva the quantum cube, and since then, he's been a literal ghost. Each interaction with the characters, he's been a ghost. That wraps that up pretty nicely. Our opponent goes down, we steal a necklace, and we go back to save our game. Our next and final opponent of the World Tournament is Kaiba. The strategy is simple. Drop an Umi and make a twin-headed Thunder Dragon, which should be muscle memory for literally everyone that has played this game. So, with that said, let's continue the Shadi trivia. The next interaction held with Shadi, if we follow the timeline, was between young Marek and Ishizu. Shadi met both kids after they snuck out of the tomb, casually warns them that their fates will be tragic, before bouncing out of the scene. Fast forward to a couple hours later, and evil Marek is currently doing the stabby stab to his father. Once he regains consciousness, Shadi appears once more and tells him that this tragedy was the will of the Pharaoh, for some reason. Then poof, Shade's Meister vanishes. If you haven't gathered by now, Shadi isn't that great of a person. If you look at the first manga, he borders on being more of a bad guy than a good guy. Oh well, speaking of questionable individuals, we're back to the duel with Kaiba. I know I've skimmed over the last set of duels, but just for recap, we have not lost once with Shadi thus far. I'll start putting the counters when we actually encounter some problems. But anywho, we attack him directly with Thousand Dragon, and once more with Stone Ghost, and pass the turn back over to him. Summoning forth a Parrot Dragon, that is definitely game for us. Fusing forth another Thousand Dragon because stuff it, why not, we attack his monster, and attack his life points directly with nothing on his field. We won. Intensifies, and we got a Battle Ox. Really? A Battle Ox? I spent way too long trying to drop that card from Mai when I did the Beast Warrior run. Ugh, always the case with this game. Anywho, we have more unskippable cutscenes, we chuck some magic up into the sky because you know, we can, and we warp ourselves back inside the puzzle. Old Man Simon bids us farewell once more, and we exit through the door to the Shrine of Glory, which is not really looking that glorious if you ask me. But what do I know? I'm not an architect. At this point of the game, we're going to follow the canonical storyline for Shadi, believe it or not. Entering the King's Valley, we meet Sidin, which for some reason is just Shadi when he hasn't shaved. I don't get this game. They could have canonically placed Shadi here. He was likely genuinely alive at this point because all the Millennium items were distributed. Oh well, all things aside, we challenge the Mage Soldier, who is basically the Shadi of this universe. GG my dude, let's see which one of us sucks more. To recap his deck, the strongest card he has is YuGiOh. The strongest card he can fuse into is probably Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, though it's very unlikely. He only has one Thunder monster in his deck. Which brings us to his second strongest fusion, Crimson Sunbird. Again, the guy only has one Pyro monster in his deck. Ugh. I can envision this opponent being just as bad as Shadi when we eventually take over. But thankfully for myself, I get to save that headache for later. We still have quite a number of monster types to get through, but I'm glad I was able to do this run just to give you all a taste of what's still left for this channel after we get through the main series. Anywho, getting back to the game, we fuse once more into another Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Mage Soldier is basically done. Clearing away his last pathetic monster, we attack his life points directly once with 7 colored fish and twice with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. We win, and we get a shining friendship. After dispatching the Mage Soldier, we search our room for the plot. Ah, you were at my side all along, my true mentor, my guiding moonlight. Disfigured horse quotes aside, we head back to the Valley of the Kings and make our way to the Forbidden Ruins. I wonder who would win in the fight, the Forbidden Memories universe or the original YuGiOh series universe. Though this is a game, there is implied death and bloodshed, so I'm wondering who would come out on top in that fight. After smelling some rats, we continue the story. Having unlocked all the mages, it's time to head over to the duel grounds and make sure we don't forget to duel Jono 2 and Teana 2. Oh, and if you're asking for my vote on who'd win that fight, the main series universe is absolutely bodying the Forbidden Memory universe. They are just way too sadistic. Anywho, getting back to the duel arena, we face off against Jono 2 and Teana 2, and this is where the game starts to ramp up in terms of difficulty. Jono's second strongest card is Red Eyes Black Dragon. As for the rest of the monsters in his deck, they're around 1800 to 1900 attack, which is at least on par if not slightly stronger than our 7 coloured fish monsters. Excuse the birds once more, they are usually absolutely quiet until they hear me start talking, then they start going off at that exact moment. The joys of owning pets, people. The duel is taking slightly longer than anticipated, so I think I'll have to jump back into the Shadi trivia. Fast forwarding back to present times, Shadi decides to visit a museum. Looking to throw hands once more, he corners the curator, who had actually stolen all the artifacts in his museum from the Egyptian tomb that Shadi was guarding. Big whoopsie right there. This is the first instance of us seeing Shadi use the Millennium Scales. This was in the YuGiOh manga or Season 0 anime. The scales are used in the same way as Anubis, by performing the weighing of the heart trial. With the feather of Ma'at on one side, he weighed the curator's sins on the other. After asking a series of questions to test his morality, he was found to be very immoral. As a result of this, Shadi fed him to Amit. Nom-nomming his problems away, he leaves the museum and spots Yugimoto, which I'll continue in another duel. For now, Jono 2 goes down and he drops us a melting red shadow. Obtaining victory in one try, we move across to Teana 2, who is thankfully weaker than Jono 2. If you guys want to know what a fairy deck will look like, it is likely going to be a similar mirror to Teana 2's deck. Her strongest monster is Orion the Battle King at 1800 attack, and the rest of them are also 1800 or lower attack. There is nothing really that spectacular about her deck. Half of it is still the same as her first in-game deck. The only redeeming quality is that she does have at least 2 to 3 equip cards and various field spells. Will she use them on us? I think not. I would be inclined to go back to the trivia, but we're kicking the ever-loving crap out of her. Passing the turn back to her, she has nothing. She sets a monster in defense position, and we just throw something on the field for the sake of it. Attacking once with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, we attack her directly with Giant Red Sea Snake. We win, and we got a forest. Having successfully defeated everyone in the duel arena, it's time to resume the story and start taking on the mages, and this is where I think the true challenge and the true test of strength begins. The first shrine we take on is the Ocean Shrine, as it is the best matchup for this deck. Having a free Umi on the field makes things a heck of a lot easier, not just for Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, but for our various fish monsters as well. Drawing none of them, however, we start our first turn off with a brick, but that's okay. Attacking with a pumpkin and with our other set card, we do deal a bit of damage to this guy. With less than 4,000 life points, let's see how he responds. The answer? Like an absolute bitch. Okay. I deserve that one. Blocking us with a friggin' turtle, the guy decides to pull out his own twin-headed Thunder Dragon. We may be in a slight bit of trouble right here. Dumping our entire hand barring stop defense, I still don't know why I kept that, we summon another Roaring Ocean Snake. Passing the turn back to him, we're thankful that he doesn't fuse into another twin head. I can deal with one. If we have two, things might become problematic. Back over to us, we have enough cards for a twin head. Again, I don't know why I'm not throwing out the stop defenses. I just had a brain snap there. Regardless, we attack into his man-eating black shark with a positive Guardian Star, and old mate decides to drop a Swords of Revealing Light on us. I would very much like that card, but unfortunately, it is locked behind a pocket station, so there's no way to get it legitimately throughout the normal course of play. You have to rely on the external pocket station. I actually released a video of that back in mid-Feb, so for anyone that's out there that wants to know a little bit more about this device, you can find the video buried in my channel. I uploaded it mid-February of this year. Getting back to the duel, ironically, the stop defense cards that I've had in my hand will probably work to our benefit given the massive back row we have in front of us. If we get lucky, I'm hoping one of the cards we target is something weak like an Aqua Mador, but nonetheless, I can at least see a target in 2000-year-old White Turtle and Catapult Turtle. Okay, it's go time. Fusing into another twin-headed Thunder Dragon, we attack into Catapult Turtle with the first one and pop off a stop defense. Putting everything into attack position, we guarantee our victory by attacking into the turtle. We win, and the Ocean Mage dropped us a Canny Kabuto. And we did this in one try. No losses yet, it's on to Secmeton. And here's hoping right off the bat, we draw into a twin-headed Thunder Dragon. That's going to make this duel a heck of a lot easier, but I digress, let's just see how we go. Unfortunately, it's a brick. Oh well, putting down a fish, he summons the absolute god among men. Old mate has dropped the crab turtle on us, and he's powered it up with Power of Kaishin. Genuinely, that is actually a strong card for this duel. My only win condition is a Pluto Guardian Star twin-headed Thunder Dragon. Following it up with an Aqua Dragon, somebody's brought their A game today. Drawing into another dead hand, we decide to dump some cards. The cards we're looking for are either a Spike Seadra or a standalone Thunder Monster. Throwing the turn back to him, he wipes out our Stone Ghost with his Aqua Dragon and attacks us once more with Crab Turtle. Thankfully, we have enough materials for a twin head. Preserving a Thunder Monster for insurance, we fuse into Kaminari attack and then again into twin head. I take out the biggest threat on his field, which is Crab Turtle, and we can breathe a sigh of relief. The rest of this duel should be pretty straightforward. So whilst we wail on Secmeton, let's continue the trivia, picking up where we left off where Shadi spotted YuGiOh exiting the museum. Shadi somehow learned that YuGi was the holder of the Millennium Puzzle. Being frustrated, he used his Millennium Key to enter YuGi's soul room. It was there that he actually found two rooms, one belonging to YuGi and the other one to Yami YuGi. Yami appeared outside his room and invited Shadi in if he dared. Shadi, for some stupid reason, introduced himself as an unwanted guest, who entered there to learn the power of the Millennium Puzzle. Yami proposed a shadow game called the Labyrinth Treasure Hunt. Somewhere inside his soul, Yami YuGi's true room existed. If Shadi could locate it, then he will find what he's looking for. Shadi, in the most stupidly sportsman way, informs Yami YuGi that if he locates a soul room, he can change the personality of the one that belongs to it. So with those stipulations out in the open, the game begun. Shadi entered a bunch of incorrect rooms which were all filled with traps. Eventually, Shadi fell into one of those traps, dangling over a cliff. It is here that the storyline starts to differ depending on if you're reading the manga or the 4Kids anime. In the 4Kids anime, good YuGi pulls him out of the puzzle. In the manga, it was Yami YuGi who pulled him out and told him to piss off. Speaking of, Secmeton goes down and we get to tell this bloke to piss off as well. Reclaiming his Millennium Necklace, we're on to the next mage. Oh, and we did this first try as well. With our handicaps exhausted, we move across to the weakest mage and we decide to take on the Desert Shrine. It is at this point in the playthrough where I might begin to shift my deck across to what it should actually look like for the final 6. For the time being, what I have is geared towards summoning out Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. From the early points, 3300 attack is all that was needed to take out our opponents. But that's not really going to stand for the final 6, so we need to come up with a different plan. I have another deck idea that I want to implement, but I'm just simply too lazy to apply it now. Instead, I'll wait until we get to maybe Kepura, and then I'll go ahead and set it up. Kepura is probably the best gatekeeper we can use to test ourselves. If he can summon a Gate Guardian and we can defeat it, we should have, I'm not going to say no problem, but I will say we should have a fighting chance of beating this game. Let's not jump before we can walk. We still have to take out the Desert Shrine, which at the moment isn't going all that well. Old mate has summoned the Labyrinth Wall. That's a problem. You know what doesn't make it a problem? Stop defense. That is literally the only reason why I left that card in this deck, to hit over Labyrinth Walls and various Millennium Shields. So to move forward, I'm going to need to dump my entire hand until I get either a stop defense or an Umi. So till I do that, let's briefly jump back to that trivia. Forfeiting the shadow game against Yami Yugi, he decides not to impose a penalty, instead sparing Shadi. How does Shadi thank him? By deciding to test him once more, this time involving innocent lives as well. This time, he decides to control Professor Yoshimori, who was one of the other people that stole artifacts from the Egyptian tomb site. More on that in the next duel, as this took place in the Japanese adaptation of YuGiOh. Low Desert Mage goes down, and he drops us an Electric Snake, which we unfortunately cannot use. Mentally preparing ourselves, we decide to take on Martis. And I never thought I'd have to mentally prepare myself for this guy. But oh well. Continuing on with the trivia, Yugi, the gang, and his grandfather go to Yoshimori's office in Domino University to cheer him up for some reason. Whilst he was possessed by Shadi, Shadi decides to knock out Grandpa and starts strangling Joey. Whilst this is happening, Teana smacked him in the head with a globe. Shadi let the professor chase Joey around the building, whilst he took over Tina's mind to use her as a tool in the upcoming shadow game he had planned for Yugi. Typical TV trope, Tina's held hostage and Yami Yugi was forced into another shadow game with Shadi, this time on a roof, of course. To win this game, the player had to make their opponent show weaknesses in their heart, somehow, with the hostage Teana suspended over the side of a building. Yup, as I said, Shadi is not a good guy. I'll continue part 2 of that shadow game in the next duel. For now, we attack directly with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, and attack directly once more with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Martis goes down and he drops us a Neck Hunter. What are they hunting for? Neck, obviously. Stealing the Millennium Scales, I regrettably need to inform you all that this took me 2 attempts. That's right, I lost to Martis, which does not bode well for me for the rest of this playthrough. Keeping up our pace, we decide to take on the Forest Shrine. Now, normally I challenge Seto 2 after I've beaten 2 mages, but I'm going to hold off on it. So long as you leave 1 mage standing, you're able to challenge Seto 2. So I'm going to hold off until I re-orchestrate my deck for the Seto 2 fight, Kepura, and the final 6. Let's pick up where we left off with that shadow game. The TLDR version of the shadow game is that both players have 4 lives, represented as Ushabti statues. When weakness is detected, a statue breaks, and 4 of those are currently holding up Taya. Seeing Taya in distress was a weakness of the heart, so already off the bat, one of the statues break. Shadi and Yugi go back and forth with a series of riddles, which eventually leads to a final confrontation with an illusion of Joey. Yugi's goal was to defeat him, but held hesitation as he felt that he'd actually be killing the actual Joey. So, as a result, he chose not to play, trusting in the power of friendship, and the Joey illusion refused to move. Through the power of friendship, Shadi was shook, and all the dude's statues broke, officially making him the loser of the game. Yugi's friends threaten to deck the bloke, so he decides to leave, but with a smile on his face for some stupid reason. And that brings us to the end of the duel. Forest Mage goes down, he drops us a Tentacle Plant, and it's on to Anubisius. This guy is a step up of an opponent. The one threat he has in his deck is Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth. So long as he doesn't summon it, we should be able to win with the current deck version we have. All I need to do is replay this maybe once or twice, till we get a cycle where he doesn't play it. How bad could it be? Obviously, as this is edited, you probably won't know how many attempts it's taken till after I finish the duel. But again, like I said, the number I'm envisioning will be about 2 or 3. Aside from Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, there is also the lower Great Moth line and Javelin Beetle. That may be a problem so long as Forest is still on the field. However, if we get a lucky Yumi, we should be able to take care of that no problem. See, what did I tell ya? No problem. So let's pop back to the Shadi trivia. Now, that entire Shadow game occurred during the Japanese version of the YuGiOh anime, and as well as the Season 0 manga. The actual appearance of Shadi for us with 4Kids TV all happened during Duelist Kingdom, where he was a good guy. The reason why it was likely omitted, on top of the actual violence, was that it broke the continuity of the story. Looking into Yugi and finding the 2 soul rooms occur both at different times when you compare the anime to the manga. For the anime, it occurred in Duelist Kingdom, for the manga and its anime adaptation well before Duelist Kingdom even existed. I'll touch on that a bit later. Anubisius goes down, and get ready for this, we did this in 8 tries. Old mate would not stop summoning perfectly ultimate Great Moth on me, and he kept changing his field back to forest. Whilst we lick our wounds, let's head over to the mountain shrine and hopefully have a bit of an easier time with this. Now, I've effectively wrapped up the Japanese adaptation of Shadi. From this point on, everything from Duelist Kingdom to Battle City, Capsule Monsters, all happens in the anime. The last arc of the show being Dawn of the Duel, or Zork I guess, that all happens both in the anime and manga, so the trivia from that point should align with each other. Now, let's head over to Battle City. Guess what? Shadi appeared once more. Hooray, said no one. When Tristan and Duke were throwing hands over Serenity, they were forced to hang on to the end of the blimp for their lives. Shadi somehow appeared and rescued them. Don't ask how a ghost has physical properties, let's not go there. Shadi later reappeared to Yugi once more and warned him about the 7 Millennium items all being aboard Kaiba's aircraft. He segues across to the explanation of the Egyptian god cards and how Pegasus came across them. He later made another final appearance in front of Ishizu to discuss Evil Marek and how he must be stopped. That's about it. That's all he did in Battle City. Getting back to the game, the lower mountain mage goes down and we climb all the way up to the top to challenge Atenza. I'm not expecting him to be too difficult, unless he drops a meteor black dragon on us. As for his black skull dragon, we can hit over that if we change the field to Umi. Having a mental brain fart on how to summon twin-headed thunder dragon, I finally figure it out and drop it on the field. So over to you mate, let's see what you summon in response. And it's a face down, love it. We throw out another twin-headed thunder dragon, and as a precaution, next turn I'll likely drop Umi as well. Oh, by the way, we defeated the lower mountain mage in 1 try. Passing the game back over to Mazda 6 Atenza, he summons a monster face down. Having a beefed up field, I think we won this. Summoning forth a 1000 dragon, we use it to take out his last monster. Queen Bird goes down, attack once with Twin Head, and attack once more with the other. We win. Atenza goes down, he drops us a Feral Imp, and we did this, unfortunately, in 4 attempts. Oh boy, things are not looking good. Now that we've defeated the bulk of the mages, it's time to change up our deck. Our focus with this iteration is to start taking advantage of the equipped spell card Steel Shell. The rest of the monsters have been swapped out to favour bringing out Sea King Dragon, one of the only strong fusions we have that can take advantage of it. Firing the game back up, we initiate the Seto 2 cutscene. Moving to the duel grounds, we get whisked away to a magical labyrinth, and to one of our first roadblocks, the Labyrinth Mage. Why do I call him a roadblock? Because this guy can summon Gate Guardian. We do not like Gate Guardian with this deck. Fortunately, with some setup, we are able to hit over it. Unfortunately, it requires us to use Umi and 3 Steel Shells, which is not all that consistent, but I'll take whatever way forward I can get to keep this run going. As you see me flub with this deck, my brain will be sitting there trying to pendulum between summoning a twin-headed Thunder Dragon or summoning a boosted Sea King Dragon. Twin Head is consistent but falls short of some monsters. Sea King Dragon is stronger but is not consistent. Decisions. Whilst we're fusing into it on screen, let's have a quick recap on how to bring out Sea King Dragon. There is a rather lengthy fusion tree we can take, but there's some shortcuts along the way. Sea King Dragon will result from a fusion between a dragon and a turtle subtype monster where either one of those monsters has an attack over 1800. Let's start step 1 of the chain. By fusing a Yamatano Dragon Scroll and a Turtle Tiger, you will end up with a Spike Seadra, a 1600 attack Sea Serpent. If you take that same Spike Seadra, or let's say a Crawling Dragon, and we add another turtle monster, the fusion will result in Karyushin, an 1800 attack Sea Serpent. Taking that same Karyushin, or a Metal Dragon, if we add another turtle, the end result will be a Sea King Dragon. The most optimal way to bring out Sea King Dragon will still require 3 cards unfortunately. Those 3 cards needed are a dragon, either a winged beast, plant, rock or machine monster, and lastly a turtle. The key hop we need to make is to bypass Karyushin and go directly into Sea King Dragon. For this deck, the methods I'm going to use is a winged beast and a turtle to make Turtle Bird, or using a machine and a dragon to make Metal Dragon. Like I said, the key requirement is having an 1800 attack monster and a turtle. But enough of that for now. Labyrinth Mage goes down, he drops us a Lord of Zemia, and we regrettably did this in 2 duels. Yep, I lost the Gate Guardian the first time. Shuffling through the maze, we make our way to our next gatekeeper, that being Seto 2. The reason why I call him a gatekeeper is because we're contending with not only a Gate Guardian, but also a Meteor Black Dragon as well. Our saving grace is that he doesn't have a field spell. But regardless, those are two cards in which we need an investment to be able to hit over him. And what is the only card that can hit over him? That's right, Sea King Dragon, that convoluted mess of a monster. The fact that he summoned the Gaia the Dragon Champion is absolutely fantastic for us. This means he hasn't got anything strong in his hand. We just need to hope that we're not unlucky enough for him to top deck something strong to defend against us. Excuse the birds, it's midday and they know I'm about to go downstairs for lunch. As for the remainder of this duel, I'm getting a bit frustrated because we have not drawn anything to bring out a twin-headed Thunder Dragon, let alone a Sea King Dragon. I think our best bet is to go for a Turtle Bird and clear out our hand in the process. In an absolute bonkers turn of events, the game has sort of glitched right here, and mucked up the card images and names of those last cards I summoned. I actually uploaded the reel of this a couple weeks ago, so for those wondering, yes, that came from this Shadi run. Getting back to the duel, we're getting the ever-loving crap slapped out of us. But thankfully, we finally draw enough materials to get a twin-headed Thunder Dragon. But I'm still a bit wary. This guy does have a few cards that are disruptive to us, and there's a chance he could just simply Raigeki my field. But oh well, let's throw the turn back to him and see what he plays. You mother trucker. So Seto decides to drop a shadow spell on us, and we are frankly out of strong monsters. Again, I don't know why I'm misplaying with those steel shells. I should have dumped them out of my hand ages ago. At this point, who knows, I might go for the AI self-KO trick, but let's just see how he responds. And we are screwed. we are screwed. Oh crap. Actually, no, I take it back. We're fine, we have a spellcaster in our hand. This is why Spike Seadra is an absolute MVP. With an Umi boosted twin-headed Thunder Dragon, we can finally hit over his Blue Eyes White Dragon. Hooray for us! What's not hooray is that we only have 500 life points left. This duel is going to be a bit of a struggle. Let's see how far we can get our life points down. I'm teetering on the edge with 500, but we'll see. Leaving 7 coloured fish in attack mode was probably a dumb idea. Regardless, we can finally empty our hand and fuse into a Sea King Dragon. I think this is actually a clutch win for us. If my math is right, which it never is, we have enough to take him out for good. Attacking directly for game for Twin Head, we win. Haven't heard that in a while, and we get a Blackland Fire Dragon. And Seto regrettably took 2 attempts to beat. This meant that I actually had to go all the way back to Labyrinth Mage and repeat the process once more. This does not bode well for the final 6, but nonetheless, we have another shrine to take down. Oh, and there's also 2 last bits of trivia regarding Shadi. The lower mage shouldn't be too problematic so long as I change the field to Umi. He'll either respond with his own field spell, leaving me a free turn to attack, or completely ignore it and let me hammer on him. He goes with option 1, and I think that's a great segue to continue the Shadi trivia. This next bit of Shadi trivia comes along as part of YuGiOh Capsule Monsters. During the time of Alexander the Great, yes, please don't read into it, that's literally what it says, Shadi forced Alexander the Great to undergo a trial to prove that he deserved the power of the Millennium Ring. Shadi tested him using capsule monsters. Alexander failed and the ring split his soul in half, one with the evil side, one with the good side. The evil side was called Yami Alexander and was sealed inside a pyramid. Progressing through the capsule monsters plot, as both Yugi and Alexander complete the challenges, Shadi appeared and said that Yami Yugi and Yami Alexander should have a duel for the right to this power, despite him, already failing the stupid trial. As for the rest of Capsule Monsters, that pretty much progresses the same way. The last appearance of Shadi was during the Dark RPG arc, and this time, he actually helped our protagonist during that arc. Despite all this, he is still highly unlikable. I'll pick up on this in the next duel. For now, we take out Neku 2 with Sea King Dragon, and we attack for game with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. We win, the intensifies, we get Domar the Angel of Silence, and we did this in one try. We are finally on to our last mage, and this one is probably going to be one of the tough ones. I'll need to contend with a boosted Gate Guardian on a Meadow field. There is no way I am winning this duel without changing the field to Umi. Because it's not just Gate Guardian that might be a problem. Millennium Shield and Labyrinth Wall, and even Wall Shadow, which he just summoned, are also things that can block our field for a good chunk of time. As for my deck, I've stupidly not put in Stop Defense. That would have been a really great card for this opponent. I'll figure a way out of this later. If I'm sounding a bit croaky, I apologise. I think I'm scratching my throat eating a piece of bacon. Anywho, it comes and goes. So with that said, let's continue the Dark RPG arc trivia. Shadi appeared in front of a stone tablet which bore the image of Priest Seto and Pharaoh Atem, aka the old versions of YuGiOh and Kaiba. Tristan was able to recognise this and pointed out that Shadi was the one that shaved him and Duke in the Battle City tournament. Did I say shaved? I meant saved. That would have been weird. Using the power of the Millennium Key, Shadi got Yami Yugi and his friends into the Millennium World through Yami Yugi's memory. When Pharaoh Atem was about to be killed by Zork, Shadi possessed the body of Hassan to help Atem in his fight against Zork. Oh, I guess that's why they called the guy Hassan at some instances. Anywho, despite this possession, he met his destruction from a blast from Zork, and that was the happiest moment in the entire life of YuGiOh. After the Dark RPG arc was over and the ceremonial battle concluded, Atem proceeded to the afterlife, and all the Millennium items that were laid down were destroyed. With things crumbling around everyone harder than the mascot apartments, Shadi's spirit had appeared one last time. He was finally able to rest as there was nothing left for him to guard. Off to the spirit world he went. And that concludes the life of Shadi. Now, I'm probably missing some dialogue or lore surrounding the character Babesa, but truthfully, I don't know enough about that character, so any trivia I might release in this video would probably be incorrect, so I'd rather just keep quiet about it and let the experts tell it instead. With all that out of the way, let's get back to the duel. And things are taking quite a while if I do say so myself. This is coupled by the fact that I'm misplaying to the ever-loving Crap House. Instead of me dumping my hand to try and get another twin-headed Thunder Dragon or a Sea King Dragon, the better option would have been to have summoned a bunch of weak monsters and let Kepura attack him with his Seiyaru or other weaker cards. Had I done that, this duel would have taken a significantly less number of turns. Unfortunately, I've forgotten about that. I don't do all these playthroughs in one sitting. A lot of the time, I'll do like a quarter of the game, put it down, then pick it up a week later. On the flip side of duels taking longer than they should, it's actually a good way to get a tech rank against an opponent. The more cards you use and the more turns you expend and the less life points you have, the better chances you will have of getting a higher tech rating. Does Kepura drop any good S-Tech cards? Well, yeah, actually he does. He's probably one of the best opponents to farm Crush card from. Aside from that, he's able to drop Widespread Ruin, I think Dragon Capture Jar, and Bright Castle as well. Some of the better cards in the game. On a separate note altogether, a lot of the high mages also have ritual cards in their deck, as well as all the materials. I'm wondering if anyone in the chat has actually had one of these opponents use a ritual monster on them. It'd be very situational, you'd have to drag out a duel just like this, but I'm curious, has anyone actually seen it happen? Doesn't have to be Kepura, I'll take other duelist comments as well. Like a typical Kyogre and Groudon battle, we're going back and forth, changing the arena from sea to land and back to sea and back to land. But thankfully, I think we're finally down to our last two turns. Clearing whatever I can from his field, we forget how to do math and attack into his wall shadow. Passing the turn back to Kepura, he responds with absolutely nothing. Hooray, we've got him. Summoning forth literally anything in my hand, I deal some more chip damage to him by attacking his turtle bird. Over to you, my dude, do you have a response for us? And it doesn't matter, so long as he's left something in attack position, we win. With 300 life points left, we attack into Curse of Dragon, and we finally win. Kepura goes down, and we also regrettably did this in 4 attempts. With all the mages defeated, it's time we take on the final 6. I never thought we'd actually get this far with Shadi's deck, so I'm just as surprised as you guys are. Now this is where things start to get really difficult. As standalone opponents, I believe I can defeat everyone in the final 6 if I throw myself at them enough times. The problem is, we have to fight everyone consecutively. If we need to do that, we're at the mercy of luck, or RNG as they like to call it in this game. Who knows, our Pyro run gave us the biggest freebie of a seed, to the point where I was considering invalidating the run. What's not to say that can't happen again? Future Jono, do you have any wisdom for us? Insightful as always. Oh boy, let's get back to the duel. Sebek's main ace monster is Metalzoa. To win, we'll either need to boost Sea King Dragon with 2 equip cards, or have Umi set on the field and boost up a twin-headed Thunder Dragon to 3300 attack. In the process, which works for a bonus for us, given that Metal Zoa is a machine type, Umi will actually bring its attack points down by 500 as well. The one thing I neglected to add back into this deck is Stop Defense, though we only would really need it for the first few opponents, since they carry Wall Shadows and Labyrinth Walls. So I think for the time being, we're just simply going to have to hold out for an Umi. Now, I've been lucky so far that I've been able to hold off. He's just summoned a Metal Zoa, but thankfully we have 2 Steel Shells on the field, so all we need is 1 Seeking Dragon. Or maybe not, uh-oh. Actually no, we're fine. Like I said, Umi drops its attack by another 500, so we're fine. My hand is a bit crap. I still don't have the cards that I need. I'm a literal 1 card short, but I'm not too worried overall. Regardless, I'm playing this safe. I could have easily just fused into a twin-headed Thunder Dragon right now, so I don't actually know why I did it. Likely it was a brain fart. You guys will understand when I tell you the full tally of the final 6. Which, like I said, I will actually tell you how many times I lost to each opponent this time round. Oh, if my voice is sounding a bit off and my narration slightly more scattered than usual, just know that I've had some significant life events pop up during the making of this video. I've literally had to stop and start things a number of times. I've got narration and clips here as early as February to put things in perspective. Nothing bad, but I will apologise in advance for any crying baby noises in the background. Speaking of people who are going to cry like a baby, we finally can beef up Seeking Dragon to 3,500 attack points. I think the only real thing he can throw at us is a Shadow spell, but I don't believe he'll use it given that he has more of a field presence than I do. The one thing I will say about this duel, it makes me miss Raigeki. Which, speaking of, in the time of making this video, they actually released an alternate artwork of Raigeki. Who would have thought, after all these years, it was simply vomit from Slifer the Sky Dragon. I'll see if I can put a card image on screen. That looks pretty nuts. After all this time, who would have thought that it was canonically true that Slifer the Sky Dragon would yell out anywho and drop a Raigeki for the frickin' win? Guess this means I have to come up with new graphic art, and I guess merch by that extension. Showing my age with this next statement, but who would have thought YuGiOh had regressed so far back in time that Shoop the Whip has now become relevant again. Anywho number I've lost frickin' count, getting back to the duel, we are probably onto our last turn of the game. Summoning a monster, we attack into his launcher spider, and Sebek goes down. We win. We got a peacock. Now with each attempt of the final 6, I beat Sebek first try. No issues here. Let's see if our streak continues all the way through Neku. The challenging thing we face with Neku is that he doesn't share the same weaknesses Sebek has. What do I mean by this? Given that he has a Dark Field, Sebek is more prone to summoning Zoa, Skull Knight, and Summon Skull, and Dark Magician. Our key win condition for this duel is using Umi, which by the looks of things, I think we'll be able to hold out for. The first card Neku threw out is Soul Hunter, a 2200 attack monster. This means Neku basically bricked his first hand, which is very great for us. Oh, Soul Hunter gets powered up by this field. His normal attack is 2200. Fingers crossed I'll have a way to access him during the Rectile run. With our hand not being any much better than Neku's, we drop a turtle. Everybody likes turtles. Except maybe, I guess, people who own them. They have a tendency to smell bad if not properly maintained, and also scare the living daylights out of people when they suddenly hibernate without reason. Of course, that's just an anecdotal experience, never had them, would like a turtle though, but not right now. I've got 2 birds and a kid and I think that's way too much for me right now. Enough about dependence, let's get back to YuGiOh. Drawing into the GG too easy hand, we fire off an Umi, and it's safe to say, we've won this duel. There's nothing he can summon against us that's going to cause us any problems, unless he reverts the field back to Yami, or I guess, I don't know, shadow spells us or something. Well, there we go. Right on cue, it's like he read my mind on that one. That wasn't even scripted. Anywho, he's changed the field to Yami, but that doesn't deter us. Neku goes down, he drops us a Metal Guardian, and we regrettably encountered 7 losses to Neku. That's right, 7. This does not bode well for us for the next opponents, which speaking of, here's Haishin number 2. I shuffle up the RNG for some good luck, and our first hand grants us an Umi. That's great. The key card we don't want him to summon is his Gate Guardian. Reason being is that we'll need a guaranteed 3 equip cards in order to attack over it. Meteor Black Dragon on the other hand is a great card for him to summon against us. As you can see here, even with the equip cards we'll get to 3500 attack, but we managed to hit over it because we have a favourable Guardian Star. With my math being as great as ever, I forgot that I can attack over it, so there's a bit of a wasted turn there, but that's okay. I'd much rather a set back row than another monster, it keeps the momentum going. Thankfully, it was a fake trap. I was kind of expecting a widespread ruin. Looks like the game has thrown us a bone, but let's not thank it too early. Blue Eyes White Dragon is a favourable second summon. This means Haishan will need to top deck something stronger in order to take out our card. At this point in the game, and this is where I don't recall the exact mechanics of things, the AI opponents have about, it was either 10 or 17. Anyways, they have a hand that's larger than 5. This is how they're always able to summon something that can check whatever monster you have on the field. The standard deck probability formulas apply, that doesn't change, but it gives you more of an indication of what sort of duel you're going to have if they summon something weak on turn 1. 9 times out of 10, that's how I've won all my playthroughs. Sheer dumb luck. Getting back to the game, Haishan drops us a Gemini Elf, and, get ready for it, we lost to Haishan 23 times. That's not 23 attempts, that's 23 losses. Getting back to the story, Seto steals a rod and we somehow end up back in front of the Forbidden Ruins. It would be interesting to see how geographically these two areas are connected, but anywho, Seto reveals an underground chamber which canonically resembles the Shrine of the Millennium Stone, aka Ghost Shadi's bedroom. This brings a new meaning to the term living under a rock, literally, as Shadi, aka Hassan, has his spirit sealed within it. Geez, and we thought the Sydney rental market was bad. Getting back to the Seto 3 duel, we have a crappy first hand. What saves us, however, is Seto bricking, and I use that term loosely. He summoned out a Black Skull Dragon. That is definitely something we can take advantage of. I'm not going to play defensively, instead I'm going to put all my resources into getting out an Umi and bringing out a Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Like I said before, Black Skull Dragon is the strongest card in his 10/15 card hand. So long as we can beat him within a few turns, there shouldn't be as big of a risk of him top decking a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Which, by the way, is not actually an instant loss for us. If Sea King Dragon has 3 equipped cards on an Umi field with a Mercury Guardian Star, its attack points would tie with Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. But remember, we're up against Seto. This bloke just dropped a shadow spell on us, and we are genuinely on the back foot now. Hopefully things don't get worse. And immediately, we have been Raigeki'd. What the hell, this is the first time I've been Raigeki'd by anyone in this game. Fair is fair, I'll consider it payback. Regardless, I'd much rather have him do that than summon out a strong monster. Getting rid of his Wall Shadow, he responds with a face down attack card. I'm assuming that's a Black Skull Dragon or a Zoa. So, we summon out a giant red sea snake. Eventually. Come on Jono's brain, you can do this. There we go. Attack into it with Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. Oh bonus, it was a Metal Zoa. And we throw the turn back to him. Summoning out his own Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, we have reached a small impasse. Not wanting to lose momentum, I'm going to dump the bulk of my hand into another Sea King Dragon. At least I have an equipped card, so it shouldn't die as easily. My idea is that I'm going to self-KO myself into his Twin Head, attack him with Sea King Dragon, and then hope I can wing it and pull out another Twin Head to attack for game. Throwing the turn back to him, he sets a defense monster. We won. That's it. Summoning out attack Ramenos, what a good guy. We attack it down with Sea King Dragon, and attack for game with attack Ramenos. We win. Seto drops us a Horn Imp, and we lost to this guy, specifically, 25 times. Those stats are completely separate to Haishan, by the way. Combined, that's 58 attempts at the final 6 simply because of these two duelists. Getting back to the Stabby Stab cutscene, we blow up Shadi's bedroom, bringing forth DarkNite, aka the Card Margin. Nope, not joking. His Japanese name is actually Card Margin, which is pretty boss if you ask me. Clearly, he is the favourite sibling, because his brother ended up with a name Manaviden Fablir, which to me sounds like someone trying to speak whilst drinking a pint. Accurate depictions of the Welsh aside, let's get back to the game. DarkNite is not that much of a threat, given that his strongest card is Meteor Black Dragon. His deck is rather disruptive rather than powerful. He has almost every annoying spell and trap card you can think of, and also a copy of every field spell. More than likely, I'm expecting him to change our Umi over to something else. Or, I don't know, maybe drop a shadow spell or a widespread ruin. So long as we can contend with the first monster he summons, we have this duel. And it looks like it's a Black Skull Dragon. GG, boosted Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon for the win. Having another brain freeze seems to be a lot more common for me these days. We dump a bunch of cards in our hand and summon forth another Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon. The only way DarkNite is getting through this is with a shadow spell or another field change. We pass the turn back to Old Mate and see what card he decides to throw at us. Given that it's a Saturn, I suspect it's Gaia the Dragon Champion, but I could be wrong. Yep, there we go, Gaia. Attacking once more with our phallic red sea snake, we pass the turn right back to DarkNite once more. On a separate note, I've realised this too late in the recording that I haven't actually showcased any 3D monster battles for Shadi's deck. I apologise for this, but fortunately, we'll have other opportunities to showcase these cards, given that I've got a bunch of other playthroughs to get through. Or alternatively, we might end up with similar cards from the other character decks, but those will be on the back burner till I get through the other monster types first. Bringing ourselves to our last turn of the game, we attack into his Bakura box with our Twin Head and DarkNite goes down. He drops us a Dragon Piper, and I encountered 0 defeats from DarkNite. We are now onto our last challenge of this game, and it's against none other than Nitemare himself. The cards we need him to open up with are either a Black Skull Dragon, Meteor Black Dragon, or a Wall Shadow / other defensive monster. I am thankful, however, that his deck does not contain any spells and traps. Unfortunately, that also means that he will always attack us each turn, giving me less time to set up an Umi and our Sea King Dragon, which is slow enough as it is. Thankfully, based on this cycle, we end up getting not 1, but 2 defensive monsters, and frankly, I couldn't be happier. Remember, I lost 23 times to Haishin and 25 times to Seto 3. After going through that, I need the game to throw me a bone just for my own sanity, and thankfully, I think it does. Metal Zoa is a great monster to be contending with. My plan from this point will be to leave all his other monsters in defense mode, just so he doesn't look to replace them with other strong cards. We are still at the mercy of a top deck, but at this point I'm not expecting any ultimate dragons, so I think I can breathe a sigh of relief. That's what I'd like to say, but I don't have an Umi or a twin-headed Thunder Dragon on the field, and that is less than ideal right now. Whilst we grind down our hand, I did find an interesting bit of trivia about Nitemare. He actually had his artwork included in one of the YuGiOh mangas, specifically YuGiOh Duelist Volume 11. I'll try and put an image on screen if I can find it. There we go. That's pretty cool given that we've never seen the bottom of Nitemare in any of the games I've played so far. But that aside, let's get back to the duel. Being pelted enough by Nitemare, we finally fuse into a Sea King Dragon and power it up with 2 equipped cards. For what he has on the field at the moment, we have an attack point tie with Metal Zoa, and a power advantage over his other 2 monsters. Passing the turn back to him, he summons forth something weak and leaves the rest of his monsters in defense mode. Now, there are 3 strategies I can employ right here. I can either summon something weak and bait his monsters into attacking it, I can summon something weak and attack into his monsters just so I can get the self KO glitch, or I can try and bring out more heavy hitters and progressively wipe down his field. I think I'm still very wary of him turning the tides against me, so I'm still going to play cautiously until I get an Umi in my hand. Well, there we go, right on cue. Time to start hitting back at Nitemare. And not a moment too soon. 2500 life points left did not leave me in a really good spot. But I'm getting pretty excited. I think this time I might actually beat him. I guess that was a spoiler. I didn't beat Nitemare the first time around. I'll let you know how many times it took after I finished the duel. What I will say is after losing 24 plus 23-ish times to the other 2 guys, then coming to Nitemare only to wipe, it hits the frickin' soul. That's why this video took so long. But anywho, you can see how this duel is going. It's going to be a bit of a war of attrition, but that's okay. So I guess whilst we wait, maybe I'll cap off a tiny bit about Nitemare. He is the final boss in YuGiOh Dark Duel Stories, the final boss in YuGiOh Forbidden Memories, and the final boss in YuGiOh Forcebound Kingdom. I guess as well, if you want to count his brother as the same person, he is also the final boss in YuGiOh Duelist of the Roses. And that's about it for now. I need to save some trivia for when I eventually do the Nitemare run. So for the meantime, the light bulb went ding in Tiny Jono's brain. I realised that I haven't done any 3D fights throughout the entirety of this playthrough. I think now's a good time to show them off, especially against the unique monsters in Nitemare's deck. First up, Serpent Knight Dragon. Millennium Lapras used Surf, which has KO'd Millennium Drampa. Throwing the turn back to Nitemare, he responds with a twin-headed Thunder Dragon. Thankfully, I left Sea King Dragon as a Mercury Guardian Star, otherwise this would have been problematic. Forgetting to recharge that light bulb, that should have been a 3D battle, but my bad, I misclicked. Channeling our inner chakra, the turn returns to us, where we beef our Sea King Dragon once more and initiate a 3D battle against Chakra. Time for a battle. Well, that card looked freaking creepy. Now, I would like to say that we're on the final turn of this duel, but unfortunately, Nitemare decides to bitch it out and put his monsters in defense mode. Surprise, surprise there. What this does, however, mean is that you guys get another 3D battle. By the looks of things, it's going to be against Garama's Sword, a ritual monster of all things. Let the final battle begin. With that definitive hit, explosions ring across the field, and 5 attempts later, Nitemare goes down. Nitemare, remember, Shadi is a pushover of a duelist. If you lose to him, you suck at this game, and you should end your career right here, right now. Abiding by the golden rule, Nitemare's career has ended, like the April Fool that he is. Shadi can finally sit atop his throne and proclaim himself a winner. So, can you beat YuGiOh Forbidden Memories using Shadi's deck? Yes, but frick me, don't do it. Time for the run wrap up. Shadi is our first character run. His deck gets ranked first by default. May he enjoy that victory while it friggin' lasts. As for the campaign stats, we suffered 78 losses. Yep, that's right, 78. Our average duel duration took 3 minutes and 35 seconds, and we threw ourselves at the final 6 60 friggin' times. A win is a win, and we'll take it. That about wraps up this video. Hey everyone, Jono here. April Fools, hope you liked this month's challenge run. This has been something that has been in the works since February. Given the number of final 6 attempts, I'm pretty sure you can all understand why. Before I sign off, I just want to give a massive shout out to Idol Majima 9640, Atenza, White Crystal Judgment Dragon, Delta Sith, Robert Walker 2691, Lily Laser 666, Wired Differently Slims, including Jazzy Cat, Lizzy Cat, and Rosie Cat. As you've probably noticed, my videos are taking a little longer than normal to produce. If you haven't heard already, I've recently become a father, and I'm still getting used to the whole no sleep crying baby routine. In the next video, we'll be picking up where we left off with the monster type challenges. Once all those are done, expect many more videos like this one to follow. So be sure to like, share and subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon to stay notified of my latest videos. Until then, stay awesome people. Hope you all draw an alternate art Raigeki for the win, and I'll be seeing you all soon.